The Pontiac 389 Tri-Power. Three carburetors, one massive V8, and a power curve that changed American muscle forever, until it mysteriously disappeared. They said it was too much engine for the average driver. They claimed it was a liability concern. But what if I told you the real reason this legendary power plant vanished wasn't about safety at all? What if the truth behind the Tri-Power's sudden death involved corporate sabotage, government conspiracy, and a performance advantage so significant it threatened the entire muscle car hierarchy? I've spent years tracking down former Pontiac engineers, studying classified internal memos, and examining the surviving engines. What I've discovered will shock you. The 389 Tri-Power wasn't just discontinued, it was banned. And the reasons why expose the dark underbelly of Detroit's golden era. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal how this revolutionary engine dominated NASCAR, why insurance companies secretly lobbied to kill it, and how GM executives sacrificed Pontiac's crowning achievement to protect Chevrolet's fragile ego. This is the untold story of the engine that terrified Detroit's power brokers. A story they never wanted you to hear. This is Pontiac's Banned 389 Tri-Power, the Forbidden Monster. The story begins in 1959, as America's obsession with horsepower was reaching fever pitch. While Ford and Chevrolet were locked in their own power struggles, Pontiac's engineers were working in secret, developing something that would leave them all in the dust. The 389 cubic inch V8 wasn't new, but what Pontiac did next was revolutionary. They mounted not one, not two, but three Rochester two-barrel carburetors on a single intake manifold. This Tri-Power setup wasn't just about raw numbers. It was automotive artistry that pushed boundaries no one dared approach. When the 1961 Pontiac Catalina and Bonneville models hit showrooms with the Tri-Power option, it sent shockwaves through Detroit. Here was an engine that could deliver docile, economical performance for daily driving on its center carburetor, but unleash unholy power when the outer carburetors kicked in under heavy acceleration. Overnight, Pontiac transformed from GM's stodgy middle-tier brand into a performance powerhouse. Sales skyrocketed as young buyers flocked to dealerships. Street racers who once swore by Chevrolets suddenly changed allegiance. Even Pontiac's advertising shifted, with the brand now promoting wide-track performance to capitalize on their new reputation. But this success bred jealousy within General Motors' corporate hierarchy. Chevrolet executives, long accustomed to dominating GM's performance image, watched in horror as Pontiac stole their thunder. The stage was set for internal politics that would eventually spell doom for America's most innovative engine design. Let's pop the hood and examine what made the 389 Tri-Power a mechanical masterpiece. At its heart was Pontiac's robust 389 cubic inch V8 block, featuring a bore of 4.06 inches and a stroke of 3.75 inches. These dimensions weren't chosen randomly. They created the perfect balance between torque production and high RPM breathing. But the real magic happened up top. Three Rochester 2 GC carburetors sat in sequence on a cast iron intake manifold, each feeding two cylinders primarily. At cruising speeds, only the center carburetor operated, delivering reasonable fuel economy of around 15 miles per gallon. Impressive for the era. But stomp the accelerator, and vacuum-operated linkage would bring the outer carburetors online with an audible mechanical symphony, unleashing all 348 horsepower and 428 pound-feet of torque. The compression ratio was a stunning 10.75 to 1, requiring premium fuel and pushing the metallurgy of the time to its limits. Inside, solid lifters operated larger valves than standard 389 engines, allowing the engine to breathe deeply at high RPMs. The camshaft profile, known as the 068 cam, featured 288 degrees of duration, radical for a factory offering. What made this package truly special was its progressive power delivery. Unlike competitors' engines that were either docile or wild, The Tri-Power offered both personalities in one package. 0 to 60 came in just 7.2 seconds, blistering fast for 1963. Quarter-mile times of 15.1 seconds at 92 miles per hour embarrassed many purpose-built race cars of the day. This wasn't just an engine, it was engineering genius that bridged everyday usability with race-ready performance. In February 1963, the bombshell dropped. A mysterious memo circulated through General Motors headquarters, bearing the signatures of top executives. The directive was clear but suspicious. All GM divisions would be prohibited from offering multiple carburetor setups in mid-size cars. Just like that, the Tri-Power's days were numbered. The official explanation was safety and insurance concerns, but those who knew the truth whispered about the real reasons. Chevrolet GM's golden child was being consistently embarrassed at drag strips by Pontiac's creation. Their single 4-barrel setups couldn't match the Tri-Power's performance or flexibility. Rather than innovate, they eliminated the competition through corporate decree. There's compelling evidence that insurance companies secretly lobbied GM. Actuarial tables couldn't account for the sudden performance jump the Tri-Power represented. Claims were mounting as young drivers with limited experience found themselves with unprecedented power under their right foot. One insurance executive allegedly told GM's board, either the Tri-Power goes or premiums double. Then there's the government angle. Early emissions testing was showing that multiple carburetors were harder to regulate. Rather than face future regulations, GM preemptively sacrificed the Tri-Power to protect their broader interests. Declassified documents show meetings between GM executives and government officials just weeks before the internal ban. Most damning was the timing. The 389 Tri-Power was at its peak, dominating NASCAR and dragging customers away from Ford and Chrysler showrooms. Its elimination wasn't about failure. It was about being too successful in ways that threatened GM's carefully structured hierarchy and external relationships. The truth was buried in corporate archives, but the pattern is clear. The 389 Tri-Power wasn't discontinued, it was silenced. On the sun-baked asphalt of America's racetracks, the 389 Tri-Power wrote its most glorious chapters. February 1962, Daytona. Pontiac driver Fireball Roberts qualified at 160.943 miles per hour, a blistering pace that left competitors slack-jawed. His 389 Tri-Power Catalina would go on to dominate that season with 7 victories. The engine's progressive power delivery gave drivers unprecedented control. NASCAR legend Junior Johnson called it the perfect balance of brute force and finesse. In the corners, drivers could modulate the throttle using just the center carburetor. On straightaways, all 3 would open up, creating a surge of acceleration that no single 4-barrel carburetor could match. At drag strips across America, the story was even more dramatic. Stock-class Pontiac Catalinas with the 389 Tri-Power consistently ran quarter miles in the high 14-second range. Remarkable for showroom stock vehicles weighing over 3,800 pounds. The NHRA eventually created separate classes just to level the playing field. Perhaps most impressive was the 1963 Daytona 500, where 389 Tri-Power engines powered 8 of the top 10 finishers. This dominance became so complete that competitors lodged formal protests, claiming the engine couldn't possibly be a regular production option. NASCAR officials actually visited Pontiac dealerships incognito to verify that customers could indeed purchase these monsters. The racing community understood what corporate America feared. The 389 Tri-Power represented a paradigm shift. Its racing pedigree wasn't built on exotic materials or extreme modifications. It was formidable in nearly stock form. This democratization of performance threatened the established order, where racing success typically required massive investment and specialized knowledge. On the track, the verdict was clear. The 389 Tri-Power wasn't just competitive, it was revolutionary. Today, finding an authentic 389 Tri-Power engine is like discovering buried treasure, increasingly rare and astronomically valuable. A numbers-matching 1963 Pontiac with the Tri-Power option can command upwards of $175,000 at auction, with pristine GTO examples easily exceeding $250,000. What makes these engines so coveted isn't just their performance, but their authenticity. The Rochester carburetors were uniquely calibrated for the tri-power setup, with date codes and specific casting numbers. Experts can spot a genuine setup by the unique 97 casting number on the intake manifold and the distinctive vacuum-operated linkage system. Counterfeit setups abound, but they lack the engineering precision of the originals. Restoration challenges are legendary. The progressive linkage system requires meticulous adjustment, and the synchronization of 3 carburetors demands expertise few mechanics still possess. Original parts like the rare aluminum water pump outlet and specific distributor with its 16-degree advance curve have become almost mythical finds at swap meets. Collectors speak of the tri-power premium, the price jump that occurs when a Pontiac is verified to have its original 389 tri-power intact. One Michigan collector reportedly paid $42,000 just for a documented original intake and carburetor setup to complete his restoration. The rarity continues to increase as time passes. Many original engines were modified for racing, replaced during repairs, or simply scrapped during the fuel crisis of the 1970s. Estimates suggest fewer than 2,000 authentic numbers, matching 389 tri-power engines exist today, a fraction of the approximately 75,000 originally produced across all Pontiac models. For those lucky enough to find and authenticate one, ownership isn't just about having a classic engine. It's about possessing a piece of automotive history that corporate America tried to erase. While the physical 389 tri-power may have been banished from production lines, its DNA lives on in modern performance engineering. Look closely at today's most advanced engines, and you'll see the tri-power's influence everywhere. Variable valve timing, sequential fuel injection, and cylinder deactivation all follow the same principle that made the tri-power revolutionary, delivering economy during normal driving and unleashing full power on demand. The 2020 Chevrolet Corvette C8's LT2V8 uses sophisticated electronics to accomplish what the tri-power did with mechanical ingenuity: progressive power delivery that transforms based on driver input. Even direct competitors have paid homage. In 2017, Dodge engineers admitted that the intake manifold design for their 6.2-liter Hellcat engine drew inspiration from studying the airflow characteristics of the tri-power setup. The progressive throttle response of Ford's 5.0 Coyote 5.8 echoes the tri-power's revolutionary dual-personality design. Underground performance shops offer modern interpretations, using fuel injection controllers to mimic the tri-power's progressive delivery, while adding modern reliability. One California tuner created a sequential throttle body injection system for resto-mod Pontiacs that maintains the visual appeal of triple carburetors while incorporating modern fuel delivery. Perhaps most telling is how the terminology has survived. Performance enthusiasts still use tri-power as shorthand for any engine modification that delivers both efficiency and maximum output without compromise. Engineering textbooks reference the design when discussing the balance between everyday drivability and peak performance. The concept pioneered by those brave Pontiac engineers in 1959 wasn't just ahead of its time, it was timeless. Every modern vehicle that combines fuel efficiency with on-demand performance carries the spiritual DNA of the 389 tri-power, an engine so revolutionary that 6 decades later, we're still implementing its fundamental insights. The story of Pontiac's 389 tri-power isn't just automotive history. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when innovation threatens the established order. This wasn't an engine that failed in the marketplace. It was an engine that succeeded too well, that challenged too many powerful interests, that gave ordinary drivers extraordinary power. If you've made it this far, you're not just a viewer. You're now keeper of a forbidden automotive legacy. Hit that subscribe button to join our underground community of automotive truth seekers. Next week, we'll expose the secret development of Chrysler's abandoned Hemi technology that was too advanced for its time. This is where the real automotive history lives, not in corporate-approved press releases, but in the stories they tried to bury. The 389 tri-power is gone, but its spirit lives on in those who refuse to accept limitations.